Piper was not born into luxury, but she was born into hope. From a young age, she had learned that silence could be powerful, and patience could be dangerous if misunderstood. Her mother had died when Piper was still a child, leaving her father as her only shelter. Years later, when her father remarried, Piper welcomed the new family with the innocence of a girl who believed kindness always returned kindness. But not everyone in that house shared her heart. Her stepbrother, Evan, was older by 5 years. He had sharp eyes that noticed everything, especially things he did not have. While Piper buried herself in books and dreams, Evan buried himself in resentment. He watched silently as Piper's teachers praised her, as relatives admired her intelligence, and as neighbors whispered about her bright future. "What's so special about her?" he once muttered to his mother. Evan had never cared for education. He believed inheritance mattered more than intelligence. And slowly, painfully, he began to realize a truth that burned him from the inside. Piper was going to inherit everything: the land, the house, the respect that their father trusted Piper. He saw responsibility in her eyes. Evan saw danger. When Piper received a scholarship letter one quiet afternoon, her father's hands trembled with pride. Evan stood in the corner of the room, clapping with a forced smile, while inside his chest something dark was growing. That night, Evan lay awake staring at the ceiling. "If she succeeds," he whispered to himself, "there will be nothing left for me." That was the night jealousy stopped being a feeling and became a plan. Piper's life changed slowly, not with one loud moment, but with quiet wounds that cut deeper each day. After her father's death, the house felt different. The walls still stood, the rooms still echoed with familiar sounds, but the warmth was gone. Piper tried to hold the family together, believing that time would heal everything. She trusted to Isley, especially the people she shared blood with. Her stepbrother, Evan, had always hidden his jealousy behind fake smiles. He pretended to support Piper's education, often saying, "You deserve this success." But inside, his heart burned. Piper was educated, confident, and respected in the community. Meanwhile, Evan felt ignored, useless, and forgotten. What hurt him most was not just her education. It was the property. Their late father had left most of the land and house documents in Piper's name, trusting her honesty and responsibility. Evan knew this, and every day it poisoned his thoughts. He convinced himself that Piper had stolen what was rightfully his. "She thinks she's better than me," he muttered one night. "She thinks education makes her powerful." From that day on, Evan stopped being a brother. He began manipulating their stepmother, whispering lies into her ears. "Piper wants to sell the land. She plans to leave us with nothing. She looks down on us." The stepmother, already insecure and fearful, started doubting Piper. Her tone changed. Her eyes grew cold. Piper noticed but didn't understand why. At the same time, Evan secretly visited lawyers, pretending to be a concerned son. He forged sympathy, shared false stories, and slowly learned how property transfers worked. His plan was for my cold, calculated, and cruel. One evening, Piper returned home to find strangers measuring the land. "What's happening?" she asked, confused. Evan stepped forward calmly. "I arranged a valuation, just planning for the future." Piper felt uneasy. "Why didn't you tell me?" Evan smiled, but there was no warmth. "You don't tell me everything either." That night, Piper couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Days later, she discovered missing documents from her room property papers, old files, her father's handwritten notes. Her hands shook as she searched everywhere. She confronted Evan. "You took my documents," she said firmly. Evan laughed. "You're imagining things. Maybe education made you paranoid." That was the moment Piper realized the truth. Her stepbrother was no longer family. He was her enemy. But Piper did not cry. She did not scream. She did not beg. Instead, she stayed silent. And in that silence, her revenge began to grow. Piper had stopped crying. That scared him more than her tears ever could, from the outside. She looked the same quiet, polite, obedient. But inside her, something had changed. The fear was gone. In its place lived focus.Her stepbrother, Evan. Thought he had already won. He believed Piper was weak. Evan started making mistakes. He spoke too freely in front of people. He forged signatures without double-checking. He assumed Piper knew nothing. He underestimated her. What Evan didn't know was that Piper had begun documenting everything. Every threat. Every lie. Every illegal paper he forced her to sign, she copied files, took photos, recorded conversations. Quietly. College. Piper excelled. Her professors noticed her intelligence. One of them, a law lecturer, saw something more. You think like someone who's been wronged, he told her gently. She didn't deny it under his guidance. Piper learned about inheritance law, property rights, and fraud. She finally understood something shocking. Evan had no legal right to most of the property. Her mother's will had been manipulated. One night, Evan lost his temper. "You think books will save you?" he shouted. "You are nothing without what I allow." For the first time, Piper looked him in the eye. "Is that why you're scared?" she asked calmly. "Because if I learn the truth, you lose everything." Evan froze. That moment told Piper everything she needed to know. Piper reached out to people. Evan had mistreated before an old accountant, a former family lawyer, even a tenant Evan had cheated. One by one, they agreed to help, not because they loved Piper, but because they hated Evan. A case was quietly prepared: forgery, coercion, financial abuse. Piper waited patiently. She didn't confront him. She didn't threaten him. She let him believe he was still in control. On the surface, life looked normal. Inside, everything was ready. The documents were filed. The witnesses were prepared. The evidence was undeniable. Evan laughed at her weakness. Piper smiled at his ignorance because she knew. So next time they met, it would be in a courtroom. Piper stood in the courtroom with calm eyes and steady hands. The same people who once ignored her now whispered her name. Her stepbrother. Evan sat on the other side, nervous, pale, and exposed. For years, he had planned to take everything from her. Today, that plan collapsed. The judge reviewed the evidence one by one. Fake signatures, illegal land sale attempts, forged documents, bank transfers traced to Evan. Room fell silent. Evan tried to speak, but no words came out. Piper had never raised her voice, never fought openly. She had waited, and she had collected truth. The judge spoke firmly. "Evan Miller, you are guilty of fraud, coercion, and attempted theft." Gasps filled the room. Evan's face twisted, not in anger, but in regret. He had lost the case, his reputation, his inheritance, the respect of everyone after the verdict. Piper was offered a chance to press further charges. She didn't. Instead, she said, "I don't want revenge. I want peace." That sentence hurt Evan more than punishment, because Piper proved she was stronger, not cruel. Piper reclaimed her property. Legally, she finished her education. She built a future that no one could steal. People who once sided with Evan now looked at Piper with respect. She had one without hatred. Evan wasn't jailed, but he was alone. No trust, no family support, no pride. Every door he once forced open was now closed.